lot of times it can be really hard for a movie to pull off the perfect blend between horror, comedy, and action all at the same time. But when you are able to pull it off and you are able to execute it nicely, that is when we get a cinematic masterpiece like WILLY'S Wonderland. This movie has a lot of really cool things like awesome action scenes, funny jokes, and horror aspects obviously all throughout. Now I will admit, yesterday was my very first time ever watching this movie, and after watching it, I'm really glad that I took the time to experience it for myself. Welcome back to the channel, my name is Haydxn, and today we are going to talk about WILLY'S Wonderland. So without further ado, go ahead and grab yourself a snack and a drink, sit tight, and let's get into it. So the main focus point of this movie is that obviously it does star Nicolas Cage as the main character. He will go on to play the janitor of WILLY'S Wonderland all throughout the film, and he doesn't say a single line throughout the entire movie. I do think this adds a lot to his character because he is one of the baddest protagonists that we have ever seen. When I say bad, I don't mean bad in a bad way. I mean, this dude is outlandish, but we'll get into that in just a minute. So this guy's car breaks down on his way through Haysville, Nevada. He runs over some spike strips which give him flat tires, and after his tires do go flat and his car completely breaks down, he is picked up by a mechanic named Jed. Jed tows his car all the way to his shop, and while he's on the way there, he explains that some kids probably took some spike strips from a police car and they laid him across the road, and that's why he accidentally ran into him. That's not what happened. On the way to the mechanic shop, we are introduced to the sheriff. Her name is Eloise, and we see her placing a girl named Liv into handcuffs. The reason she is arresting Liv here is because Liv is pouring gasoline all over the WILLY'S Wonderland building, and she is trying to light a match and burn it down. She played it off like it was vandalism, but Liv had her reasons, which we will also get into in a second. So she handcuffs Liv into this nasty looking trailer, and she tells her she is not allowed to leave for the rest of the night. The way the dialogue plays like this, you kind of assume that the sheriff is Liv's mom. Just the way the two interacted. Liv was like, "I hate you." The sheriff was like, "I love you." Just little things like that. So we get back to the mechanic shop, and the guy tells the janitor that it's gonna be about $1,000 to fix his car. So the janitor pulls his card out of his wallet to give it to the mechanic, and the mechanic says, "We don't have any Wi-Fi, I can't take any card payments, we are strictly cash only." Upon figuring out that he doesn't have the cash, the owner of the mechanic shop tells him that he has a job for him to do in order to pay off the car. That's when he calls Willy Wonderland's owner, Tex McAdoo, I don't know, and he tells him that he has a prospect lined up for him. So they meet up with him at the location of WILLY'S Wonderland, and this is where Tex tells the janitor that if he can stay overnight and clean it up and get it ready for the reopening, he will pay his car in full and get it back to him by the morning. Obviously, the janitor accepts, and he is officially on staff. So the janitor begins his work, and while he is in there, he sees the 8 animatronics that are going to be the main villains throughout the entire film. So we have Siren Sarah, who is the ballerina looking girl all the way to the left, along with other animatronics: Willy Weasel, Artie Alligator, Cammy Chameleon, Ozzy Ostrich, Tito Turtle, Nighty Night, and Gus Gorilla. I think that maybe 8 was a little bit overkill. That was kind of a mouthful just trying to get through who the 8 even were. Out of all of them, the first one to tempt the janitor is Ozzy the Ostrich, and unlucky for him, like I said, this dude is bad. He breaks a mop in half and he proceeds to completely butcher the ostrich. From this point on, we kind of figure out what this movie is going to be. Back at the trailer where Liv is staying, her friends end up coming in to break her out, and she tells them that someone is locked in WILLY'S Wonderland and they need to go save him. Speaking of the friends, I think that this friend group was really good. I think that there were times where they were really funny, and I think that it was perfect casting for all of the characters. So they get to WILLY'S Wonderland and they begin to douse it in gasoline, but that's when she says, "Hold up, the guy is still in there and we gotta go save him." So Liv makes her way into the Wonderland through the air vents, and that is when the janitor is fighting Gus Gorilla in the bathroom. He curb stomps him against a urinal. An animatronic, he curb stomped it against a urinal. It's crazy, I know, but it's really funny. It's a good movie, I'm telling you now. Liv ends up being kidnapped by Siren Sarah, but then she gets away. She says she was able to fend her off just long enough, and she's trying to tell the janitor that he needs to get out, but he does not care about any of her warnings. Liv's friends end up climbing up onto the roof and getting into the building, and that is when the group forms and they tell the janitor that back in the day, the original owner of WILLY'S Wonderland was actually some sadistic serial killer, and him, along with his 7 cannibalistic friends, all killed these families. When police got word of this, they went to WILLY'S Wonderlands themselves, and as soon as they got inside, they found out that him, along with his 7 friends, all performed a satanic ritual that would get their souls into the animatronics. As soon as that story finishes, that is when the animatronics in that building come to life and they attack the group along with the janitor. We end up losing every single one of the friends throughout the film except for Liv. But right before we lose the friend Chris, he does call the sheriff and tell her that they are inside Willy's Wonderland and that Liv brought them there. As soon as she hears this, she grabs her guns and they go. So while on the way there, Sheriff Eloise told the deputy that the reason that Willy's Wonderland and the whole situation around it is like this is because the animatronics were getting hungry, so they were leaving the building and going throughout the town and slaughtering anyone they could. In order to get the animatronics to stay put in their buildings, they said that they would feed them. They would set up these traps for people to run over, they would get their tires flat, and the mechanic would pick them up and he would offer them the same promise that he offered the janitor in this case. If they worked overnight at Willy's Wonderland to get it cleaned up, then they would get their car back by the morning. But obviously this was all a ruse to get them in the building so that the animatronics could feed on them. I know, it's really weird. Why not just light it on fire in the first place? I don't know. Why not blow it up, bulldoze it, kill them all? I don't know. But she proceeds to say that in one of the instances, the family that got killed had a child, and that child was Liv. So Liv ended up being taken in by Sheriff Eloise. This is why Liv knows all of these secret dark stories that they don't tell anybody, and this is why they have this weird mother-daughter dynamic throughout the entire film. So they get there and they handcuff the janitor, and Deputy Evan takes Liv and he drives her far away. Eloise tells the janitor that he needs to just stay there and he needs to die and this all needs to go to plan. But Nicolas Cage, being Nicolas Cage, aka the janitor, he's not going for it. He breaks out of the handcuffs, he destroys the rest of the animatronics, and Eloise notices this before going back inside. While she's going back inside, we cut back to Deputy Evan taking Liv, and Tito Turtle is on top of the car and he reaches in through the window and kills Evan. Liv grabs the shotgun and she just beats Tito with it because she can't get it to shoot since he stole the bullets, and she goes back to Willy's Wonderland. While Eloise goes in there, she is killed by Willy the Weasel, and this starts the main fight between the janitor and Willy. Obviously, the janitor doing what he does, he destroyed him. The next morning, Ted McAdoo and the mechanic return to Willy's Wonderland to just observe the damage that happened overnight, only for them to find out that the animatronics are gone and that the janitor is still alive. So he gets his car keys and he gets in his car, and while he's getting in his car, Liv walks up the street and they both share a moment where they look at each other and he basically takes her in and they leave together. While Tex McAdoo and the mechanic are in their truck celebrating, saying that they are officially gonna reopen since the animatronics are now gone and they have nothing else to worry about, Siren Sarah gets gasoline and blows up their car along with herself. The janitor and Liv make their escape and they are on to a new life that we know absolutely nothing about. And that is the movie, guys. That is basically how it all ended. We got this really sick action movie which featured Nicolas Cage completely obliterating every one of these animatronics, and with the comedy aspects that were in play throughout the entire movie, it played out really well. Like I said, yesterday was the first time I have ever actually watched this full movie for myself, and I am really glad that I did. So if you do have some free time and you're debating on whether or not you really want to watch it, I would say go for it. Now, is it the best horror movie ever? Is it the best action comedy horror movie ever? No, it's not. But for what it is, I do think that it is really cool. This is basically the Five Nights at Freddy's film turned up to 11. So if you're interested in anything like that, or even Nicolas Cage in this phenomenal performance, then I would say go and watch this movie 100% without a doubt. That is gonna be it for today, guys. That is the Willy's Wonderland review. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to let me know down in the comments and subscribe to the channel. And while you're clicking the subscribe button, you might as well click the like and the notification button as well, because it's all in the same place. I appreciate you guys watching this video and for visiting, and as always, I will be sure to see you guys in the very next one. Peace!